Welcome back to the TT podcast. This is part 2 of Milo Ward's podcast. If you've not heard the first part, make sure you go and check it out wherever you listen to them. Steve, where do you listen to this podcast? Don't say in my car.
I don't listen.
Brilliant. Milo, you listen, don't you?
I do listen.
Great. We finished up basically into practice week of your first ever TT. Learning the course was it didn't sound like it was that much of a struggle to you to learn it. Obviously, what I found out as a non-racer at the TT, you're constantly learning. You're always going to be learning, even when you're 10 years, 12 years deep into it. But I think it's fair to say if someone said at the start of your TT week of racing, you're going to get 3 finishers, you would have taken it regardless of where you finished. Was that the aim?
Yeah, I would have ripped his hand clean off.
Yeah.
If someone offered me that. I just wanted to get the laps under the belt, get the finishes, and enjoy the experience of being there at the TT and competing in the TT. It was the learning process of the TT is years and years in the making. So to get to the point where I felt like I had a solid base, my plan was I wanted to do 120 mile an hour lap. That was my aim for the TT. I achieved that, and it was like, now how can I build up to the next little bit and make the increments to go a bit further on. So it was just
10 laps of 120 plus.
Yeah, I think my quickest was
122.687.
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
I like to round it up to 122.7, but yeah.
122.7. Sorry, Steve. Crack on.
Was it what you expected? I don't mean the riding at the TT, but I mean, because basically it's 2.5 weeks of your life. I'm talking about paddock life, the atmosphere in and around, the camaraderie. Was it kind of as you expected, or was it a little bit of a shock of how different it was to British Championship and other racing?
It was very different to British Championship, but I thought that would be the case from when I went to Cookstown and Tandragee, which are smaller Northern Irish meetings, but the paddock was so friendly. I'm not saying the BSB is not friendly,
no,
but the TT, I could pop into. Well, I went down for dinner in Douglas, so I sat down with the missus and her family because they'd come over to support, and John McGuinness walked over to my table as a newcomer at the TT and said hello, how you getting on, asked me if there's anything I can help with, and at that point I was like, oh, it's John McGuinness. I'm just a big fan. I just love the event. So yeah, you don't get that. I wouldn't be sat at the awning at BSB and Leon Haslam wander down to me and be like, how are you finding Druids then? Are you alright with that? it just wouldn't happen. Yeah. No, it's just different like that. But as a TT, they're all very competitive at the front. I doubt you've got Dino and Michael Dunlop giving each other tips around there. But that at the end of it, they go and nip down the pub and have a drink.
It's the respect, isn't it? It's the respect. John knows
everyone to come home safely.
Yeah, exactly.
Fast and safe, and that's the difference, and it's a fantastic place to be. The 2 weeks of being there was unreal. I love the Isle of Man anyway. Mm-hmm. After now going over a few times, I love the place. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. Apart from when there's a few hundred motorbikes,
yeah, just come and spoil it
around, ruining the place.
So what was the hardest part for you about the TT? Even though you're a fan, you're going to love it. But there must have been moments where it did get a bit difficult because it can't be all plain sailing.
Well, there's the obvious stuff that we went through this year. That sucked. I knew several of them personally, and as racers you deal with that side of things normally. But at the TT while you're there, and knowing that you got to carry on the next day,
yep,
that was hard. That was hard to take into account and get over. But then at the same time, if anything went wrong for myself or anyone else, I'd tell everyone else, you go back out there and I want to see that 136, 137 mile an hour lap. That's how I would be, and they're going to be the same. They're just as passionate as I am. So that was hard. And the other bit was delays.
Yeah.
BSB runs to time, unless there's a red flag or anything along those lines. It's to time, every time.
Yep.
No question. Whereas now you're getting yourself ready, your helmet's going on, and then you hear Gary come over the tannoy, 15-minute delay. It's like, yeah, fair enough.
How do you feel about that? Because you must get yourself psyched up, and obviously the nerves are kicking in, and you know that as soon as you let that clutch out, those nerves are going. But he's just told you now you've got to wait another 20 minutes, you've got to wait another half an hour.
The first time it happened was gutting, because it was just as we were just about to head out for the first lap behind Milky, and I was gutted. I was like, I just want to get going now, because you've been building and building to that point. But then, some riders get themselves in the zone. I don't know, how were you, Steve, when you were racing? Were you in the zone, or were you sort of jokey laughing around?
I was kind of jokey, laughy to a certain degree, probably on the outside, but the inside, obviously, you were focused, and I wouldn't say, you were just desperate to get everything right and worried you've forgotten something to prepare or something like that. So
quite simple.
Happy
similar.
but nervous.
Yeah, I'm very similar. So I'll have a joke and a giggle, but I don't want to be headphones on like some riders are in there. You don't talk to them. They're in that tunnel, which I really respect, but I can't get myself into that place, not until I'm on the bike and I'm on my own. Up to that point, I'll have a giggle and laugh. So once that delay came over, it was like, oh, it's the delay again.
Yeah.
I can sort of settle in and just sort of make light of the situation, keep the spirits up, and then once the time came to get back on the track, we was ready for it.
It did see it. Every time I saw you in the paddock walking by, you always look, or Parc Fermé, you always look like you were in a good mood. You always look like you were happy to be there.
How can you not be in a good mood when you're about to go race the Isle of Man?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm being prodded, like, off you go and do that.
However, before the before the podcast started, we were talking about the scariest parts of the track, and you mentioned Bray Hill being the scariest.
Yeah, that bit sucks.
Steve, what's your opinion of Bray Hill?
I hated Bray Hill.
Yeah?
I hope you're listening, Harrison. He loved it. He loves it.
Psychopath.
You're not far wrong. No, seriously, it was just, and that goes back to what I asked you about. What was the hardest kind of points or sections to gel with? Because for me, I never did really.
No,
but
I
it was.
agree.
I wouldn't say I hated it, but I just was never at ease down and through there. And it's just so. And you knew full well, especially that was a big build up for a start of a race, especially a 6-lapper. First job is to get through that bloody horrible Bray Hill.
Yeah, I agree. You head off down Glen Country, and then you got St Ninians. I enjoy St Ninians. I think that's a really cool little take off, a little bit loose. Yeah, and then you head down to the bottom, and you just got to get through that bloody compression.
Is it that at the bottom that's...
Oh, it's brutal.
Is it?
It's savage.
I think for me, it's not the actual bottom of Bray Hill. It's because you're flat out in 6th. You're not flat out, but you're wide open in 6th, and it's blind. It's like running off the edge of the world.
Yeah.
So you got nothing to aim at and nothing to go at.
I never realised until I first visited the place how steep it was. It's a hill, so you expect it to be, but it is like dropping off the face of the earth, isn't it? Right at the bottom.
You're dropping off, and the front wheel's not coming down. That's the other bit. You end up trying to steer the bike on the rear wheel, which once you're getting comfortable with that, it's possible. But I will not sit here and say my skill is good enough to steer it comfortably on the rear wheel.
Yeah.
So you come down the front's doing that, and you have to always want it on the rear wheel though, because the moment the front comes down, the front fights the rear, and the rear fights the front, and it just sends you into a little wobble. And then you've got to make sure that's all back in place by the time you hit that compression. Because if you don't hit that compression sort of almost upright, right at the right point, you don't want to know what could happen after that. So you've got to keep it all in line.
So with that kind of feeling and talk, how good was it? You mentioned it, you brushed over it, to do your first ever lap behind Milky.
That will stay in my head as one of the coolest experiences of my life. We set off behind Milky. It was Milky, there was Glenn, Jamie Kringle, and then me. And we set off.
So you led Glenn around the lap of the TT?
I didn't know. God, no. No, he was at the front. You go ahead, Glenn. You were miles quicker than me, as you bloody proved at 129.
Stole your thunder.
Oh no, I would have looked all right if it weren't for him turning up. First night of practice, I think I did 116.45. And prior to Glenn coming doing like 119 or whatever he did, it would have been joint fastest or the fastest ever newcomer first night of practice. And
Really?
Glenn turns up.
Spoils the show.
If Glenn is listening, love you, mate.
Yeah.
But no, it was amazing. Going down behind Milky and Glenn, everyone. Oh, it was fantastic. And I was really, really nervous on that first lap. I was like, do I know enough? At this point, I was really doubting. my own knowledge and my own skill set. You know, I'd done laps that morning on my road bike. I was like, do I know enough here? And it was probably about Molly's, sort of, you know, that fast right-hander.
How far are we in there? 12, 13 miles?
Just before the 11th milestone.
Just for the 11th,
so
isn't it?
10
Yeah.
miles, yeah.
It was there that I went, I know this. I do know this course. I can do this.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a few bits that are going to jump out a little bit at me. I expected that, but I was like, 98% of this course, 99% of this course, I know what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of a weight lifted off my shoulders at that point, and I started to lean off the bike a little bit more, be more gentle on the throttle. The smoothness settled in. And then I was like, all right, this is what I need now. This is how I can ride the course. That's my sort of style of riding anyway. So once I could, you know, feel comfortable to do it, I then knew that when that first, we come in after doing that lap with Milky, when we were going to head off out on my own, I'd be okay. I was like, I can do this. You know, there's no pressure on me. No one's expecting me to go and do the 129, 130 mile an hour lap.
Yeah.
You know, Glenn had that pressure.
Yeah.
You know, whereas no one really knew of me. No one knew what I could do or what to expect from me. So it was perfect. It was like, right, go out, fly under the radar, do what I need to do. Yeah. And that was it. It was perfect. It was on that front.
And how different was that first lap behind Milky to the lap then when you went off on your own?
I found going on my own much easier.
Yeah.
Because I could see through the corners, whereas before, you know, on the newcomer lap, I ended up overtaking Jamie because he was only on a little 600. So used a bit of the power of the foul to nip past him and sit behind Glenn, and then gave it a little bit of room, but you could still always see Milky, Glenn in your way going through the corner.
Yeah.
So then as soon as, you know, we have the open lap, the first few laps being on my own, people came past me, but they'd buggered off quickly. I could actually see the landmarks that I knew were in my head and how the corner went. And then towards the end of the practice week, when, you know, some of the faster boys would come through and you might be able to follow them for a corner, then I could actually learn and use that information. Whereas at the start, you know, Michael Dunlop could have come round, tapped his seat and said, you follow me for 2 laps.
Before you know it, he's gone.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I was not sticking with him. Also, if I could have stuck with him, I would have been not learning anything on the track.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have just been learning how to follow that seat unit. Whereas that's what I want. I want to learn the track. It's a time trial at the end of the day, not a short circuit race.
Yeah. The scenery is as important as the ribbon of tarmac, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you wish you'd have entered 5 races, not 3, just for the learning process, or was you happy with the amount of information you was taking on?
I would have liked to have entered the more races. I definitely would have done. But at the same time, with being a newcomer on practice week, we can go out in every class anyway. So I still got the same amount of practice. It's only the actual races that I didn't get. And I think by focusing on the one bike, I became comfortable on that. Whereas maybe if I'd gone on the 600 and the foul, you know, braking points are different, shut-off points are different, I might have confused myself more. For 2023, I'd like to be on both, because then I can now do just as many laps as I did this year, plus maybe some more. So I think the first year I made the right decision. You know, it was influenced by the guys at the TT. They know what the safest option is for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got the experience, have done it. So listen to their advice, do what they recommend, and it worked out the best for me. So I'm glad I did it that way.
So you're going back then?
I'd like to.
Wait. Let's not talk about the future yet, because there's still so much to cover in TT 2022. Steve, I think you would have noticed this, because I did, and I've only been to the TT a couple of times. The amount of additional media, the amount of additional cameras, sound people, just people going around with media bibs on at this year's TT was like nothing I'd ever seen. And a lot of that was to do with, obviously, the TT Plus coverage, but also this new docuseries that's coming out, all about the 2 weeks of the TT, similar to, you know, Drive to Survive, something like that. And Milo, you were one of the riders that they followed quite a bit. So how was that experience? Did that add any pressure, and what were they filming? Give us a preview, an insight.
Well, they filmed me getting dressed into my leathers, so don't watch
Brilliant.
that bit if that goes on. It's not a sight anyone wants to see. But I'll tell you that.
Because I've heard you ride Commando as well.
Oh God, no! That'd be a chafe, wouldn't it?
Has anyone ever ridden Commando?
Not for a long time.
Sorry. So they were watching you get dressed.
Yeah. No, they filmed. Do you know what? It was fantastic. The film crew that were sort of following me were really nice. They were really respectful, but also top guys to just have a laugh with. So they filmed we filmed a pre-TT bit to get the nerves sort of at the time and that side of things, and then they filmed me in and about the team, interacting with all those guys who, were all new to me. Then sort of up onto the film, we walking up and up through the paddock, which was a surreal experience because I'm walking up as a nobody, film crew,
Cameras on you
like this, looking at me, and then there's people walking, going, "Oh, film crew, who is it?" And then seeing me, and then you literally see him look and go, I'm not seeing. Who's that? I've not seen him before. It's either like, hi, you have no idea who I am, but hello.
Yeah, they're following me.
Yeah, clearly I'm someone important. But no, it was really good fun. I honestly, I felt like a right little superstar. Really sort of like privileged and overwhelmed with it all, but I couldn't talk for England, so there was points where the sound guy would be there like this, and then the sound bar would slowly start dropping because his arms are hurting. He was falling asleep, and I'm like, "Do you want a cup of tea? Should we have a break for a little bit?" Because I don't shut up. My parents tell you, everyone will tell you. Just keep talking and talking.
Did it apply any more pressure, or did you just enjoy it for what it was?
Yeah, I had to enjoy it for what it is. At the same time, I'm really glad that they've documented it because I'm going to be one of the lucky people who can relive my first TT.
Yeah, brilliant.
On film over and over and over again on TT Plus. That's going to be a fantastic thing to be able to do for when I'm 70 or 80 in a care home going, "This was me when I was a boy."
Like Steve's
Hey up, love, watch this.
still eating out on that TT even now.
Did you notice?
I've won a few TTs. No, it is amazing. I can't wait. I've seen a few little snippets of it.
I've seen nothing,
and it looks like it's going to be.
So I am super worried how I'm going to come across. I hope I come across as a nice enough person because I promise I'm not a dick.
If anything like this podcast's gone, you're in, you're in trouble. So again, we touched on it, and let's head there now. Well, I mean, we still got to talk about your massive crash.
Oh yeah, I mean, bad boy.
Yeah.
My fight with the oak tree.
Let's before we talk future then 2023 and beyond. You do all those laps around the TT course.
Perfectly safe. And then I went and did a 24-hour moped enduro race at Teesside.
Oh, is that what it was?
No, it wasn't that one. I did it.
Sorry, I thought
I went and did that. I lasted full 24 hours. Like, what? Mega.
Yeah.
And then Aberskare. Good old Aberdare.
Yeah.
I'd never been round.
I've been on a bit of a PR thing, did some commentary and rode round on some old 500 two-strokes of various things, but hey, that's some place.
Yeah, it is some place.
Is it somebody's back garden? Because it looks like
No,
it.
it's actually a small park in the middle of town. It's fabulous. It's a fabulous little event.
It's an old Victorian park.
Right.
It's a really lovely place. The tarmac's actually really good as well. It's not overly bumpy.
Mm-hmm. Look, right in the centre of the town, village, big village town. Lovely little pond, water, but it's brilliant.
Just a park.
Yeah,
Race around the park.
It's literally a park, and it's no wider than it's probably 3.5, 4 metres wide at a push.
Yeah.
It's not a wide track.
So talk us through it.
So I'm terrible at starts, hence why the time trials are now my new favourite thing. So I started second on the grid. I think I was third on the grid. It was Matt Stevenson, the flying mullet at the TT, Joey Thompson, another cracking, and myself. We set off. I dropped to about fifth off the line, and off we went. Sort of third, fourth lap. I jumped my way up into third. Set the fast lap of the race. Closed onto the back of Joey, leading Matt Stevenson. We had another 8 laps to go. I was like, right, I'm on for this. I can probably do all right here. We crossed the line up into the first corner, so it's sort of uphill, braking into a left and then followed by another left. So both quite fast. So you sort of come fifth gear, down to third, hold third, then through the second part of the left. We've gone through the first part, and there's a back marker, and Matt and Joey get past the back marker, and this back marker is quite tight onto the second left. Well, like my thoughts were here, right, I'll go around the outside. I'll be clear by the time we get to the straight. Jobs are good. And as I've come around the outside, because he's gone so tight, he sat up.
Yeah.
Straight into the side of my tank where I was coming around the outside. And so at that point I sat up. He's hit me and I've gone, oh, let's not, just go down. Looked up and that's it. Big oak tree. At that point, and time slows down for you. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
At that point I was very...
And did you hit it square on, or just glance off it, or can you remember?
I can't. I didn't get knocked out.
Yeah.
So I managed to... I was heading straight on. I was just looking at this tree, and
Hey, when he says big oak tree, it is huge.
I believe
Is it?
I believe it's the same one that
Neil
Tuxworth might have hit.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I went, oh God, this is it. I'm dead. And I was like, oh shit, this is it. I'm gone. And I just sort of went as hard left then at this point as I'm sort of going onto grass as I could, because I was like, if I hit this head on, that's neck, back, I'm well and truly stuffed. If I can try and hit it on, the right-hand side of my body, I'm a big lad anyway, I was like, I can maybe absorb some of the impacts. I'm wearing all the right gear, I've got my chest protector in, I've got my back protector in, I'm wearing my RI, I was like, that's my best chance of survival. And I hit it. The bike buggered off. I stopped and just bounced off maybe a metre or two. Just landed flat on my face. My arm was tucked underneath me. I was laying on the floor and I couldn't feel a thing.
Really?
Yeah, because of the shock that the body gone through. So at this point I didn't know it was the shock. I now know afterwards. But at the time I was like, oh God, I've really damaged myself here. But then a bit of pain came in and I've never been more thankful for it.
Yeah.
I started to hurt and I was like, oh, okay, it hurts a lot, but I'll be, I'm going to be
still
okay
here,
here,
yeah.
I'm alive.
Did it knock the tree down?
No, the tree's still going. Small crack. No, the tree still beat me.
Tree won.
Yeah. Tree 1, Milo 0. Yeah, and then, the medics and the marshals come running over. They get the morphine into the system. Life starts to get a little bit better. Had to go in a land, driven to the hospital.
Yeah.
Couldn't sort anything else out there. So loading me up there, morphine as I'm going, because it turns out I'd fractured my pelvis. I'd fractured my sternum, smashed my wrist to pieces, which I'm having a bit of trouble with at the moment. I think screws come loose or something in my wrist. And then I ripped off my ACL, PCL and MCL off my right knee.
Really?
Yeah, clean ripped them off. It wasn't even dislocated my knee. They have no idea how it happened. But we didn't know that until about 3 days later while we laid up in Cardiff. We then found that one out. But yes, they took me down. My wrist looked like Donington Park chicane on National Circuit, for the right and the left onto the back. That's what my wrist looked like. It was not pretty. Got to hospital. Load of ketamine. Put my lift.
I was going to say to you, when he said about
veins.
Morphine, I'd be complaining straight away. They want ketamine.
Oh no, they gave me the ketamine then. Then I was having a great time. I was not bothered what was going on.
Bothered? Me?
And then laid up in Cardiff Hospital then. And about a couple of days later they were like, so we know all of this stuff. We didn't know about the knee. And they said, let's get you walking. Threw the sheets off, trying to get me up onto the Zimmer frame. I looked down, one leg's straight, which is my left leg, my right leg's bowing like a longbow out to the right, and they're like, nurse looks at me, I look at the nurse, and we both sort of go, that's not right, is it? Shipped me off down for an MRI scan, and they said, it'll be a few hours till we get your results. By the time we'd been wheeled back to where I was in the room and the ward I was in, the MRI guy had already made his way up to tell me, in this is not paraphrasing, he said, your knee is buggered. This is how we started the conversation. And I was like, this doesn't sound good now, does it? He was like, you've got serious ligament damage. But then because of all the other injuries, and at the Cardiff Hospital where I was, they operated on my wrist and fixed my wrist, but they weren't good enough, or didn't have the right people in there at the time to fix my knee.
Yeah.
So they shipped me off to Leicester to finish off the rest of my recovery, because then the knee surgeon there said, we need everything else to be okay before we can do your knee. Excuse me, because this is now, other side's got to take all the weight for the right while it recovers. So then I didn't get the knee surgery till September 30th.
Right.
So I'm sort of 14, 15 weeks out of surgery now.
Successful.
Yeah. So I've had part of my hamstring or hamstring tendon is now one ligament. A slice of the hamstring is another, and then I've had a donor ligament from someone's Achilles tendon, I think.
Amazing what they can do now. Amazing.
There is the guys at the Leicester General Hospital were fantastic. The guys at Cardiff Hospital were fantastic, and at the Leicester Royal Infirmary, I was looked after so well. The level of staffing and medical care was brilliant. Could not, this is why I'm so grateful for the NHS that we have. Everyone was brilliant, and the knee surgeon was fantastic, and what they can do.
So you're going to be fit for 23?
That's the plan. So I've ridden a bike. I jumped on a bike a few weeks ago and weekends ago on an enduro bike. Just a bit of green, light green laning and that, and the feeling comes flooding back to you. There's certainly been some doubts in my mind whether I want to go back to it all.
Yeah,
because of the crash, obviously.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to do in my life, and not all of them involve motorbikes.
Mm-hmm.
Safe to say how it is, but the love is still there. I still want to go and do it. It's just now it's down to financial side of things, getting everything like that in place and the team in place. Then hopefully we'll be back this.
Have we got some irons in fires for teams, or do we need to be doing some sort of OnlyFans content to fund it this year?
If you're willing to put the content up,
we'll go 50-50.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
As long as I'm team boss.
Easy, done. I'll have your face plastered on the side.
Uh-oh.
But no, there's a potential really good thing coming, or potentially coming, but in the nice way without offending anyone. I'm not counting my chickens till they've hatched. Until we're there on the grid, then I'm not sure what's going on. So at the moment it's still
up in the air.
Yeah, that's the right word. And finding other things up in the air, but the state of the financial economy of the country at the moment it's been very, very difficult to find any sort of financial income and support for road racing. Doesn't seem to be there.
Well, I know we laugh and joke about your crash, but I remember seeing the Twitter going mad about it when it happened, and it was a serious crash. I'm glad that we are lucky enough that we can laugh and joke about it, and you've still got the love for it. And I don't want to end on that because it's a downer, but 2023 is going to be great for you, promise you. Steve, let's finish on some quick fire questions.
I'm well excited for these.
Hey, there's nothing serious, don't worry. Obviously, you listen to the podcast, kind of thing, so just answer one or the other. Lager or bitter?
Lager.
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
Seen your missus. British champion or TT winner?
TT winner.
Good lad. John McGuinness or Peter Hickman?
I'm sorry, Peter. You will be there one day, but it's John McGuinness for me.
Cool. Grandstand to Glen Helen or Ramsey hairpin to the bungalow?
Ramsey hairpin to the bungalow.
Good lad. Mass start or time trial?
Time trial.
Pineapple or never pineapple on a
pineapple
pizza?
On a pizza.
Yes. Good boy. I love this one. Milky Quail or Johnny Barton?
Oh, you evil sod.
Oof. Oh. One or the other.
One or the other. I spent more time with Milky, so it'll be Milky. He's a fantastic
one or
guy.
The other.
Milky.
Sidecars or solos?
Oh, that's mean. Solos. I do love sidecars.
Night out with the boys or a romantic meal with your better half?
Who's going to be listening?
The better half definitely going to listen. Let's go. It's a lovely romantic evening with the better half.
You answered that before you said it. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you very much.
Milo, it's going to be a pleasure to see you without the orange bib at the 2023 TT. We look forward to seeing you out there. Cheers, pal.
Thank you very much for having me on. Been a real honour.
there we have it. He's left and he's not even put his headphones back. Unbelievable. These kids nowadays.
Need to speak to his mother.
Rock star. Unbelievable. But what a great guy.
Feeling a bit starstruck. Jim Carrey. Freddie Mercury. Spitting in me, both of you. I can't believe my luck.
I think we should just wrap it up there. Steve, for people that aren't watching, can you give us a description of how Milo came in today? Because people won't understand that. I mean, most people know what Freddie Mercury looks like, right?
Yeah, hey, listen. Good newcomer.
We'll worm out of it now. You just said he looks like Freddie Mercury.
Well, it's spitting image, isn't it? Just
have a great tash.
Look in his eyes. Tash is fabulous. Look in his eyes. He's got that look, Freddie Mercury look. And then Jim Carrey. I mean, everybody says the same about you.
Thanks, mate. No, everybody says it because you say it. No one ever said it until you said it. But
do you know who I'm mates with?
Great guy.
Nah, bang on, mate.
And if he keeps going the way he's going without sacking it, he should be on for a good 2023.
Good
now.
to see him getting over
his
his injuries, and obviously not many weeks now, obviously until Ireland TT23. So good to see him back on track and getting things in place.
That was the Milo Ward episode of the TT Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to the TT Podcast wherever you listen to us, and make sure you leave us a review because Steve loves to read them, don't you, mate?
Always.
So this has been the Milo Ward episode of the TT Podcast. Loads more star-studded TT guests coming up on the podcast. And next week is Mick Grant.
I think they were quite proud of what I achieved, because I remember at the Silverstone Grand Prix one year, I was having a 350 race with Jarno Saaren. Well, Jarno was leading the race and I was sort of second, and we were going out together. And the guy that went down with my father to watch the race was in the grandstand. And he said my dad got so excited he actually got 2 cigarettes going at the one time. So it must have been fairly pleased.
That episode is out next week with Mick, and if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast. And while you're at it, check out all the news and latest features over at iomttracers.com. And you can check us out on all the usual socials. We're at TT Racers Official. Until next time, see you later, Steve.
Adios.